Hi, have you ever sent these notifications from a Django website? If not, believe me, you are missing a crucial part of all websites. But to be honest, it's a complex setup. So here's a tutorial on how to send push notifications from a Django website. So let me first make our aim clear. I have these shell commands. So first I'll copy the command, paste this in the shell. See, here it is, our push notification. This is what we are going to be doing in this project. Now for this, we are going to be using Firebase. Firebase is by far the most popular way of sending notifications, push notifications to be specific. Now there might be some other way of doing the same, but as far as I know, this is the most convenient way of sending notifications. If you know something else, be sure to write down in the comments. I'll be happy to learn. To start with the project, we'll first create a web page, and inside that, we'll create something called a JavaScript Client. So this is the setup. I have an empty Django project called notifications, an app called push, which is added here in the installed apps list in the settings.py file. So we now create a templates folder inside the push app. Create a new template, say index.html. So now let's create a URL. A new function which returns this web page. Let's run the server and test whether this is working. Nice, you see nothing, this means our web page is ready. So head on to Firebase documentation. And then cloud messaging. So this is the documentation. We first need to specify our credentials here in Firebase config. Then we need to initialize our app, which is this. Then we need to ask the user for permissions. This is the code which we will use for that. After that, we will use something called get token. When we use this, Firebase will generate a token for this browser on this device and then use this to console log the token. Now for the credentials that go in here, the Firebase config, we need to start a project in Firebase admin and start a new app. I'll need to start a new project. Let's say test project. So our project is now ready. I think we need to add an app for this. So here go into the web option, say my-app. Alright, the app is now ready. These are all the credentials that we need to paste in here, the Firebase config. So we'll copy this. Paste in here, okay, some indentation issues. Now we need to initialize the app that we just added. Now there's a small issue here, and that is this code. We do have an import link for initializing the app which is here, but the second link given here is for get analytics and we don't need that. Instead what we need is the script for get messaging and get token, which we don't have here, and the one given in the Firebase documentation is for the users who use npm. So let's just use AI for this. Alright, so this is the link for importing get messaging and get token. Let's get rid of these analytics things, we don't need them. Okay, done, nice. Now we ask the user for notification permission, copy this. Then paste this in here. Need to adjust the indentation and some curly bracket. Done. So now back to the documentation. On this line, get token, messaging and the vapid key, copy this and then paste this in here below the if. Now for this vapid key, go to our app, settings, then go to cloud messaging and generate key pair. Once you generate a key pair, you see a small string here, that's our public vapid key. Copy it, paste this in here in our code. Now to get the generated token, we use some if things. Get back to the documentation and you see this here, if current token, copy this if, paste it here below our get token. Inside that if, console.log current token. Close the if. Now let's run server and check if this works. So we now see a token that is generated for this browser on this device. If you reached this far, congratulations, you have completed a crucial step. And I'm sorry, I'm going to paste a whole lot of code from the source code. But don't worry, I'll be having the link of the source code in the description of this video. Alright, so I have pasted some code, and the reason behind that is our previous code was directly triggering a dialog box that asks the user for notification permission, and that code is very likely to give an error on Microsoft Edge because Microsoft Edge does not allow asking for the permissions directly, because according to them it's something that negatively affects the user's experience. So now we have a button in our HTML web page that is visible when the user has not granted notification permission, and once the user clicks on it, the dialog box asking for permission appears. Alright, so now that we are able to generate and display tokens in the console, we will be working on receiving notifications. And for that, we will be needing something called a service worker file. A service worker file will be basically a JavaScript file named as firebase-messaging-sw.js, and it should be accessible from yourwebsite.com/ then the name of this file. So for this, we'll create this service worker as a static file, and then we'll create a URL and a view that returns this file. So now our service worker is also ready. I created a service worker file, added that to the static folder, collected static, created a new URL and a view that returns this file. So now let's look at this service worker file. Now this is importing some scripts. These are the links for importing those, and this part is initializing the Firebase messaging, and this is pretty much similar to our JavaScript client, and this part is something new. This messaging.onBackgroundMessage is something that we are going to use to receive messages, and in this, when we receive some message, that is a notification, it will print this received background message in the console. So our notification will have a dictionary called data, and it will contain title, body, icon and image. Now we'll specify this when sending notifications from the server. So now our functionality for the tokens and then receiving notifications is ready. Now what we'll do is we shall send test messages, and for that head back to the documentation, then send a test message. From that we'll have a page here in the Firebase console. Go to the messaging page and select our project and app. Then create your first campaign, Firebase notification messages, then create. Alright, so it will now send you to a page where you can enter the required content just for testing purposes. Then select send test message, and now go back to the console and copy your FCM token that you got here. Paste this here, click the plus icon and then click on test. Nice, you finally got a notification. Now if I'm not wrong, you're supposed to have 2 notifications here. And the reason behind this being we sent a test message. So the first notification is handled by Firebase and the second one is received by our service worker. And also, if your second notification is lacking an image even if you added one, don't worry, that's totally normal and you're on the right track. Alright, so now we are able to generate and display tokens and receive notifications using our service worker. Now only 2 things remain. First is sending notifications from Django and then saving the tokens.